Class 8, your chapter 13, that is direct and inverse proportions. So here we are going to talk about two quantities which are related to each other, okay, which affect each other, and we can have this relation in two different manners, okay. One, it can have direct proportion, another it can have inverse proportion. Now what do we mean by this? See, the two quantities can be such that if one increases, the other also increases. If this is decreased, will be associated with decrease in this as well. So when such a thing happens, then that is said to be having a direct proportion. X increasing leading to increase in Y. So that is a sign of proportionality. X and Y are directly proportional. Okay, so when you remove this proportionality, you introduce a constant. This k will be fixed. This is what we mean, constant. Okay, so that means x upon y ratio and proportion किया है आपने. Okay, so x upon y, this ratio always remains constant. Okay, in case two variables or two quantities are directly associated, okay, or direct proportion. So that means whatever will be the ratio of first quantity is to second in first case will also be in the other case, will also be in the so and so forth, all the following cases. This, whenever you take out this ratio of these two quantities, every time this ratio comes out to be same, then the quantities are said to be in direct proportion, okay, or direct variation बोलते हैं. How do they vary? If one changes, how does the other get affected? Okay, so that's direct variation. Increase in one, second also increases. Decrease in x, y also decreases. Okay, so as you can see, some of the books or sometimes they also use this way of calculating. Comes to the same. See, we can take this y here and get this x here. So whether you write it in this form or you write it as x1 upon x2 is equal to y1 upon y2, anyhow you can represent that. Okay, same way now inverse variation is the other way around. Means as I'll increase x, y will be decreased, or if I decrease x, y will increase. तो inverse हो गया, उल्टा. Okay, increase in one leading to decrease in the other. That is called your inverse variation or inverse proportion. Any word can be used. Again, this ratio, so what ratio will we get from here? So your x will be equal to constant upon y, or you can cross multiply this y this side, so you get the product of these two always as a constant. डायरेक्ट वेरिएशन में दोनों क्वांटिटीज का रेशियो या कोशेंट कांस्टेंट रहता है, एंड इनवर्स में उनका प्रोडक्ट कांस्टेंट रहता है. ओके, सो मीन्स फर्स्ट क्वांटिटी इनटू the other quantity will always remain the same. So x1 y1 will be same as x2 y2 x3 y3. तो जैसे जैसे हमारे places बढ़ते जाएंगे, these products remain the same. Likewise, as I said here, जैसे हम change form में लिख सकते हैं, इसे भी आप यही कर सकते हैं. You can get x here, y here, so you'll get x1 upon x2 is equal to y2 upon y1. See, ये direct था, तो 1 upon 1, 1 here, 2 upon 2 here. Here ये उल्टा हो गया, हमने इसको इसलिए हम इन्वर्स बोल रहे हैं. ये रेशो उल्टी होगी. इसी x1 upon 2 था, यहाँ 2 upon 1. तो इट्स अपॉन यू हाउ यू फाइंड इट कन्वीनियंट. आप चाहो तो केस 1 में कोशेंट इन एवरी टाइम रिमेन्स द सेम, प्रोडक्ट एवरी टाइम रिमेन्स द सेम, ऐसे करके मेमोराइज करो फॉर्मूला, और मे बी दिस वे. Okay, so whichever way you find convenient, I've jotted down both the formulas. Okay, now let's take up questions from here. We'll come to exercise 13.1 beta, in which first question says following are the car parking charges for any railway station, and for 4 hours you have to pay 60, for 8 hours 100, 12 hours 114, so and so forth. This data is given to you and they're asking you that if these parking charges are supposed to be in direct proportion or not. Okay, so direct proportion में हमें ratios check out करनी होती हैं. So in case 1 it was for 4 hours rupees 60. That is ratio means the smallest fraction is coming out to be 1 upon 15. Second में for 8 hours you had to pay 100. So this ratio if you cancel out is coming out to be 2 upon 25. Likewise बाकियों का भी अगर आप करोगे, every time the ratio is coming out to be different. Okay, so if every time the ratio is different, then we conclude that since the ratios are not matching up, it is not direct proportion. right? Okay, now question number 2. If we take mixture of paint is prepared by mixing 1 part of red pigment and 8 parts of base, and you need to complete this table. So obviously this is indirect variation here. Okay, so it was said that for 1 part 8 parts of base was required, so this is what your ratio is given to you, 1 upon 8. Okay, this will be equated to ratio in rest of the cases also, because it's direct variation, so whatever is this ratio should also be in rest of the cases. So for case 2, when it is 4 parts of pigment, then how many parts of base is required? So you will equate 1 by 8 to 4 upon, suppose A parts was required. Okay, so rest is all your calculation. You need to cross multiply. This A goes here, 8 comes here, so that means 32 parts will be required. Likewise, you can do the filling of the remaining entries also. Every ratio every time will be equated to 1 by 8. 1 by 8 will be equal to 7 upon A, then 12 upon A, 20 upon A. Okay, so it's sheer calculation. I've done one part for you, rest you try on your own. Okay, then for the third one, in third one also they are continuing that same, taking example 2 only. So in the question 2 above, if 1 part of red pigment requires 75 ml of base, there they were talking in terms of parts, and here it is given in milliliters. That's the only difference. Then how much red pigment, how many parts of red pigment, so naturally should be mixed with 1800 ml of base. Okay, so if you put it in tabular form, your work becomes easy. So first we need to think about which are the two quantities we are talking about in this question. One was red pigment, how much of red pigment we have. Second quantity is base, okay, which in this question third part is given in milliliters. So let X represent red pigment and Y represent base. Then in the first case they had given that we had 1 parts of red pigment for 75 ml of base. So they are asking you how many parts of red pigment is now required if your base was 1800 ml. Okay, so ये मैंने लिख दिया like case 1 itna, this is your x1, then this is your y1. Then in case 2, x2 we need to find, this is what we want to know, and y2 was given to us. And of course, since they are in direct proportion, the ratio will remain the same, that is x1 upon x2 will be equal to x2 upon y2. Okay, so this 1 upon 75 will be equal to, this we do not know, x2 upon 1800. Then again you need to cross multiply to find your x2. So 1800 upon 75, that will help you find that we want 24 parts of red pigment for this much milliliters of base. Okay, now if you see the fourth one, they are saying that there is a machine in which can fill 840 bottles in 6 hours. Then how many bottles will be filled in 5 hours? Okay, the more the bottles we have, the more time would be required. So again, that's direct variation. Okay, if one number of bottles increase हो रही है, तो time required is also increasing, right? So that is first thing you need to find. Okay, so I was saying that this is again a direct variation, because as the number of bottles will be increased, the time required for bottles would also increase. So this was our case 1 when we had x1 means number of bottles in first case, y1 means how much time is required in case 1. Then case 2, we want to know the number of bottles, we don't know that, so we'll leave it as x2, and the time taken in second case was 5 hours. So if it is direct variation, ratio in first case should be same as ratio in the second case. So x1 which was 840 upon y1 which was 6. So 840 upon 6 is equal to x2 upon 5. Okay, so now from here x2, 5 will be cross multiplied here, is coming out to be 700. So that means see, time kam hua to number of bottles bhi kam ho gayi. Okay, so in 5 hours 700 bottles can be filled. Okay, so try, all the questions are similar. This way put it in tabular form and then try to understand what kind of variation it is, and then write this proportion, put the values and do your calculation. So try these many questions and some more, and then I'll continue with more in the next turn.